While we're stressing over bills, chasing side hustles, and hoping TikTok turns us into millionaires, the Vikings would have laughed. Over 1,000 years ago, they figured out how to build real wealth from nothing. No banks, no credit cards, definitely no crypto. These weren't just axe-wielding raiders, they were entrepreneurs and strategic thinkers in fur and iron. While most people were surviving, the Vikings were thriving. So let's break down their blueprint. 7 Viking tricks to get rich from $0. Some of their strategies still work today. And trust me, by trick number 4, you'll be wondering why your side hustle didn't involve a longship. Before money ruled the world, the Vikings ruled by bartering. Wool for fish, amber for spices, swords for silk. They could turn a walrus tusk into a feast and a new pair of boots. Picture a Viking standing at a bustling riverside market in Novgorod, fur draped over one shoulder, trading fish for fine silk brought in from the east. No coins, just skill, instinct, and whatever you could carry. While we're Venmoing friends for overpriced coffee, these guys were trading amber for spices and building real wealth. One deal at a time. Everything they had, whether it was handmade, hunted, or hauled across the sea, was a potential trade asset. Bartering wasn't just some survival skill, it was an art form. They read people, knew values, and struck deals that helped them climb the wealth ladder one fur pelt at a time. And today, that's like freelancing without a website or swapping services instead of swiping credit cards. If you've got skills, knowledge, or even just time, you can trade your way forward. You don't need money to start. You just need something of value. To the Vikings, a ship was more than a ride. It was a money-making machine. Longships were fast, flexible, and shockingly well-designed. They could cross oceans, sail rivers, and sneak into ports no one else could reach. That meant access to goods, to people, and most importantly, to opportunity. A single longship could carry up to 20 tons of cargo. That's around 4 adult elephants worth of trade goods. Some Vikings used their boats to raid, sure, but others, they became mobile traders, sailing from one village to the next with cargo like wool, timber, iron tools, fish, amber, and even rare luxuries like Icelandic falcons or polar bear cubs. Think of it like launching an e-commerce store in the year 900 AD, but instead of clicks, you had currents. Their ships were so fast and silent, monks in England started calling them sea wolves, because by the time you spotted a longship, it was already too late. No ads, no credit cards, just wind, wood, and nerve. Their travel range was insane. From Iceland to Baghdad, no passports, no borders, just wind power and willpower. Kind of like how today's entrepreneurs use Uber, food trucks, Amazon, or Instagram shops, Vikings brought their products straight to the people. They didn't wait for customers to come to them. They sailed straight into new markets with wood, rope, and guts. Sure, raiding made headlines, but craftsmanship built legacies. Vikings didn't just take stuff, they made stuff. Blacksmiths forged weapons, hinges, and nails by hand. Weavers spun tough, waterproof cloaks from sheep's wool. Woodworkers carved everything from bowls to boat keels. And here's the secret. They didn't aim to make everything. They specialized, became masters, created goods that were so well made, they became trade currency on their own. While we're sweating over rent and Amazon returns, Viking artisans were forging axes, weaving cloaks, and carving bowls, all by hand, often in smoke-filled huts lit by firelight. Basically, Viking gear was the iPhone of medieval Europe, reliable, desirable, and built to last. Their gear was in demand across Europe, and it wasn't just because of Viking bravado. It was Viking quality. And you know what? That's still the formula today. Build something useful, build it well, and people will pay. Forget flashy. Focus on function, because even in the age of AI, quality still sells. Here's where it gets really smart. The Vikings didn't just trade things, they traded access. They knew which rivers had the fattest fish, which forests had the best timber, and which cliffs hid iron ore under their mossy skin. And once they found those resources, they claimed them. Sometimes by settling, sometimes by negotiating. And yes, sometimes with an axe in hand. They weren't just traders, they were resource managers. In Iceland, they didn't just farm sheep, they claimed land around hot springs in places like Haukadalur, turning them into assets centuries before spa resorts or Airbnb. If everyone wants it and you've got it, you're not just surviving. You're negotiating from power. They understood this simple truth. If everyone wants it and you have it, you win. From controlling timber and iron to people today growing followings, selling online, and turning niche skills into real income. We see you, video editors. The battlefield changed, but the strategy stayed the same. Control the tools other people need, and you don't just earn, you leverage. It's easy to think of the Vikings as just northern warriors. But these folks were expansion pros. They didn't stop at Norway or Denmark. They set sail for Scotland, Ireland, Iceland, Greenland, and yes, they even reached North America hundreds of years before Columbus. Why? Simple. More land, more resources, more money. New land meant new farms, new trades, and new customers, and they weren't reckless. They scouted locations, tested soil, studied the weather, and built settlements where they could actually grow. Every new outpost became a wealth center. They scaled like a startup, but with sheep and swords instead of slack and spreadsheets. By the year 1021, they'd reached North America 500 years before Columbus, guided by stars, currents, and memory. Most of us get lost driving without GPS. These guys mapped continents with seabirds and instinct. It's the same mindset today. Go where the opportunity is. Start side businesses, expand online, reach new audiences. If you're only earning in one spot, you're not earning enough. Not every Viking got rich by swinging a sword. Some got rich by shaking hands. The Varangian Guard, made up of Viking mercenaries, became the Byzantine Emperor's elite royal bodyguards. Imagine a part-time gig that lands you in the palace with a sword and a salary. Vikings were incredible negotiators. They'd marry into powerful families, strike mutual protection pacts, and form alliances with kings, earls, and sometimes even their enemies. In one famous case, Viking chieftains were hired by foreign rulers as elite bodyguards, like a 10th century security company in chainmail. They knew how to trade loyalty for access, power for peace, and favors for future profits. They even set up thing assemblies, early versions of parliaments, where disputes were settled and deals were brokered. Just like today's world of networking, brand deals, and business partnerships, they knew relationships could build empires. It's not about who you know, it's about who wants to know you because of what you bring to the table. Let's be honest, the Vikings were terrifying, but that was intentional. They built a reputation so fierce, so legendary, that towns would surrender without a fight just because a longship was spotted on the horizon. That fear became their marketing strategy. In England, entire towns paid them not to attack, a system called Danegeld. Basically, the Viking version of pay up or we burn your village. They understood that a powerful brand opens doors. Even if that brand is, we might burn your village unless you trade with us. But it didn't stop with fear. Viking traders dressed well, carried exotic goods, and told stories of distant lands. Their brand wasn't just danger. It was mystique, power, and reach. They created a legend, and legends sell. Not just a name, a moving brand, one that arrived before you even saw the sails. When your name spreads faster than the news itself, you have leverage. But here's what most people miss. None of that would have worked without their ships. Their brand spread faster than word of mouth because their ships move faster than some modern boats. No engines, no tech, just pure design genius. And I know you're wondering how that's even possible. So just click this video right here to find out.